Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing Mario Golf Super Rush for Nintendo Switch. But these aren't my thoughts and opinions, as the review was written by Thomas Whitehead for NintendoLife.com and was adapted to video by me. But without further ado...
Nice birdie!
Camelot is a studio that has, for many years, dutifully churned out mascot sports games for Nintendo. Players often go back to the retro days when pinpointing the company's best efforts, though if you go by most recent form, Mario Tennis Aces, the studio is still doing great work. After serving up court-based action, it's now time to return to the golf course. Though Mario Golf Super Rush feels more like a spiritual successor to Aces than an actual sequel to Mario Golf World Tour. That's fine, but Super Rush leaves us with some mixed feelings. When talking about any game in this series, the first task is of course to assess the story mode. In this case, the golf adventure. This mode is the ideal starting point, and also continues the recent mini resurgence of Nintendo's Mii's. You take your little avatar on a quest to become a pro golfer. There's even 3 save slots too, and there's actually a story of sorts here, albeit one that goes from being mundane to utterly goofy at the drop of a hat around 2/3 of the way through. There's a very sudden flipping of the script, which is more throwaway than clever. That said, we think young gamers in particular will enjoy the silliness, and we went with it and had fun. Your Mii starts off in accommodation that's run by Birdo. You meet up with a few rival rookies, all keen to be the next big thing. Though you're typically limited to going from A to B to complete training tasks and challenges, there's a pleasant surprise in how charming the world is. And this is a game that brings us back to that Switch life of buttery smooth 60 FPS performance in a first-party game. This is achieved courtesy of relatively simplistic visuals, undoubtedly, but chunky and colourful is perfectly suitable for a Nintendo sports game. You get free movement to explore multiple hub areas and towns, and each one has its own distinct style. Just don't miss out on the shops. The game weirdly doesn't give you any prompts to do this, and it will help your progress. So begins a lot of golf, of varying styles, and you very rapidly start to level up. The upgrade system is solid, and occasionally upgrading one stat by 2 points will lower another by 1, so there's a light amount of balancing at play. Most skilled players will ultimately build a rather impressive all-rounder, but it's all well implemented. The fact there are speed and stamina gauges near the top is also a good clue of this mode's priorities. It's simple, but effective enough. And as you progress, there are some specialized clothes and equipment to pick up that come into play on certain courses. The foundation blocks of adventure and character customization are there, and though nothing special, it's absolutely fine. It's suitable for players of pretty much any skill level. The adventure mode becomes the ideal way to learn about different modes and strategies. Each area and its distinct courses throw up new ideas or environments to overcome. But we will say the second area introduces cross-country golf, and that is downright bad. The idea is you tackle holes in any order you want, but have to navigate steep changes in elevation and hazards. We can see the intent was there, but it's just not enjoyable, and presumably the development team had an inkling it was the weakest part of the game because you never see this style of golf again. So grit your teeth, clear it, and pretend it didn't happen. The rest of the challenges are definitely better, but you won't be playing much chilled out golf. Some progression gets repetitive, as ultimately you end up playing speed golf and time golf over and over again. This is where the rush part of the game kicks in. The gimmick is you run to the ball after each shot, and you're constantly keeping an eye on the countdown. It's not just about speed though, as your end score in speed golf, for example, is your completion time plus 30 seconds per shot. So finding the balance between speed and accuracy is important. Though occasionally in the story we just wanted to play a regular round of golf, but instead you're dashing around constantly. For chunks of the experience, the adventure feels low on ideas. At first you're told to play 3 holes, and then another set. Then a qualifying round to upgrade your badge. It's understandable, teaching you courses and conditions, but it lacks creativity. And then there's the plot twist, and you learn 1 or 2 slightly more quirky techniques and even take down a few boss encounters. They're pretty basic, but it's silly fun. By the time we wrapped up the story, the overall impression was positive. This is very B tier in terms of polish and quality, a topic we'll revisit in a second, but it is endearing and a great way to learn the mechanics. There are moments and aspects of the experience that will raise a smile, which is mission accomplished. Depending on ability level, we think adventure mode will take players around 6 to 10 hours. You then move on to general play, which is where you experiment with the varied roster. After finishing the story, we reached a point where our Mii was the stronger option than any of the actual characters, though you can earn experience to get the star level up and improve their clubs. However, the game falls a little flat here. The solo challenge areas where you go about leveling up characters, but this merely consists of stroke play or speed golf rounds of courses and nothing else. There are no intriguing or clever challenges to make things interesting, making leveling up feel like a true grind. The lack of smart challenges, a good feature of the 3DS predecessor, is a disappointment. But there are good options if you want to jump into some customized solo rounds or local multiplayer. 6 different courses unlock as you play through the adventure, or alternatively you can skip the story and the next course unlocks after completing a full round of its predecessor. Standard and speed golf are featured, and whether setting up a solo or multiplayer session, you get good customization options in terms of how many holes you play, where you start on the course, conditions, and more. Then there's Battle Golf, a quick-fire new mode. This takes place across 2 arenas, and your goal is to complete 3 holes before anyone else. You can go for any pin you want, but once a player has completed that hole, it disappears from the map. This makes it a rather amusing scramble. When you throw in each character's star move shots and their impacts, for example, knocking your ball away or transforming it into something like an egg, there's a nice element of chaotic wackiness to the battles. But with only 2 courses and such short matches, it's unlikely to hold your attention for very long. Nevertheless, playing any of these modes in multiplayer works really well. The game defaults to standard button controls, but there is an option for motion controls using a Joy-Con. They're well implemented and quite intuitive. The little controller is very accurate in detecting your swing and its power. It's still far easier to do more complex moves like applying spin and fade and draw with the buttons, but as an alternative that gets you off the couch, the motion controls are really fun. We also got to test the online multiplayer to a limited degree. We had to join predetermined lobbies, and of course the servers weren't under any real strain. This may change by release, but our experience was lag-free. But that's not particularly important in multiplayer golf, beyond messing each other up with super shots and limited environmental effects. The setup is pretty much identical to local. Lobbies can also be set to friends only and with or without passwords. You can even add in CPUs to fill the spots if you want to. If you want to play with family or friends remotely, it's a very competent option, though the communication is rather simple. There's nothing in-game, no messages or even taunts. That is, unless you use the Nintendo Switch online app. That does support voice chat for the few people that use it. Lots of positives then, but there are some disappointing aspects around this title. Wrapping up our thoughts on the online feature set, it lacks any incentive to compete. If you're not just playing with friends, then there's no point to really jump in. There's no ranking system of any kind, and it lacks the basic but enjoyable tournaments of Mario Tennis Aces. Super Rush's portable golfing predecessor set up regular events in which you'd register a score and get placing of either gold, silver and bronze depending on those scores. An equivalent here would be very welcome, but there's nothing. There's also an inescapable feeling that, despite the premium price point, this is a mid-B-tier first-party release from Nintendo. There's a good level of content, but it lacks spark, and of the 6 courses we think only 2 or 3 are particularly interesting. There's a lot of variety and environmental manipulation that could have been implemented, but the designs end up feeling rather safe and uninspired. It does get wackier as it goes on, but never to the extent of World Tour. This limited level of creativity is shown in the aforementioned disappointing solo challenges. And especially in the adventure, there's a feeling of corners and budgets being cut. There's poorly used and repetitive voice sampling. The constant "hey hey, hey hey, hey hey" was extremely irritating. Limited animations for characters and a lack of visual flair all feel like they come from a discounted first-party effort. The music also is rather weak. The core theme is reasonable, but nothing special. And some clips sound like royalty-free tracks and something you wouldn't find in a Mario game. Now, none of this ruins the experience, not by a long way. And despite these complaints, there's still a good amount of content, decent golf mechanics, and just enough wackiness to justify having the Mushroom Kingdom cast on board. But we've come to expect a more premium effort from Nintendo, and for those expecting the same quality as other first-party efforts, you may be underwhelmed by Super Rush. Mario Golf Super Rush is a game that, in many respects, hits its mark. Golf Adventure has plenty of charm and offers up a fun way to learn various mechanics and unlock new courses. Away from that solo endeavor, there are decent options for customization for multiplayer games, local or online, button controls or motion swinging. However, it's not a premium effort. There's a nagging feeling of corners being cut and at times an absence of creativity. But many players should still have fun with this one, both solo and with friends. This ain't the Masters, but for Mario Golf fans, it is a solid par. We here at Nintendo Life give Mario Golf Super Rush a 7 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, and of course let us know your thoughts on Mario Golf Super Rush in the comments below, and go to that subscribe button and whack it and chase after it, and hopefully you get it in the hole faster than all the other competing people hitting the subscribe button. And we'll see you next time. Bye everyone.